Hello, everyone, and welcome to iCritic Live. This is the podcast where we talk about entertainment, pop culture, and life in between. I'm your host, Kevin T. Rodriguez, film critic of iCritic.net. Thank you so much for spending a few minutes of your time here with me today. And welcome to potentially the new audience, because on YouTube, at the very least, this is the first episode of the new year. This is the second episode overall, where we are going to be on a different channel. This podcast used to be on the iCritic YouTube channel, but for reasons that I have explained in an update video there, the podcast is moving to the iCritic Media channel. And so for all my subscribers to iCritic Media, welcome to the podcast. And hey, if you want to listen to this podcast on an alternative app, we are also on Spotify, Apple, Deezer. We're pretty much on all the podcast platforms of choice. And so let's just get that little, self-promotion out of the way early. And let's talk about the Golden Globe nominations, which, the Golden Globe, well, not the nominations, really the winners. Like, because, the Golden Globes came and went and we won. There are winners here. Okay, here's my stutters coming out, but, it's live, so we're not going to change it. I've definitely got thoughts about the winners. Now, I know that the Golden Globes are technically not a serious awards body. They never have been. And honestly, ever since Dick Wolf Productions took over the Golden Globes, and I think Penske Media bought them, this has been dubbed like new Golden Globes, like, new voting members, new way of doing business. I honestly think that they've been so wild the last couple of years that it's like they really have not helped predict much in terms of who's going to win Oscars. In fact, most Golden Globe winners in the last few years don't even get nominated for Oscars, and they certainly, for the most part, don't win. Like, remember when The Fabelmans won Best Picture and Director at the Golden Globe a couple of years ago, and it's like, oh, this solidifies that The Fabelmans is the next picture to win, and then it was Everything Everywhere All at Once, or Austin Butler won Best Actor in a Drama, and it's like, oh, I guess he's taken the lead over Brendan Fraser for The Whale. No, Brendan Fraser still won. So what wins at the Golden Globes, I really don't know if it's actually going to be given like a boost or anything. And I certainly do not agree with the New York Times article that basically said that Wicked's chances for Oscars are dead and buried with the Golden Globes, because it only won one Golden Globe. It won the Best Cinematic Achievement of the Year, which is basically, at this point, now with Barbie last year and Wicked this year, this is them saying, okay, look, we're going to give one of the most successful movies of the year an award. We're going to acknowledge it, but it's not going to actually win one of the real awards. And I think they got to get rid of that award completely. That award is never a good idea. And, the Academy, which was going to do something like that, like Best Popular Film, they backed out on that. And they're seeing in real time with the Golden Globes why that award was such a bad idea in the first place. But that being said, Academy voters do watch the Golden Globes, and they do take note of, like, the speeches. If, there's a great moment on the Golden Globes, like, yeah, we'd like to have that moment for our show. Or online, where people react positively or negatively to a win. Like, for example, Demi Moore won Best Actress in a Musical or Comedy this year, and people are going gaga over that win. Now, I am not going gaga over that win for a couple of reasons. One, I did not like the substance, although it's such a weird case, because it's like, that was such a good movie until the last 20 minutes, like, completely torpedoed the whole thing, in my opinion. Now, I think Demi Moore is worthy of an Oscar nomination. Heck, I'll even be okay if she wins. She was great in that movie, but I have an issue with her winning here because she won for a musical or comedy. Now, this category, and I already talked about this in like another podcast episode, the Golden Globes really stretched what their definition of musical or comedy was this year. Like, they put things like Challengers in musical or comedy. I don't think that's either. They put Anora in musical or comedy. I don't think that's a comedy. It's got more funny moments than The Substance does, but I don't think that makes it a comedy, personally. And I think someone like Cynthia Erivo was robbed from this award because she actually fit within the definition of what this category is supposed to be, but she lost to someone in a movie who definition was not what the category was supposed to be. And by the way, they also did things like nominate Hugh Grant for actor in a musical or comedy. He didn't win. Sebastian Stan did for A Different Man. But Hereditary was not a musical or comedy. It was a horror movie. But then you see how great people have been reacting to Demi Moore's win, and it's like, well, now you know she's going to get into more awards. She's probably going to get that Oscar nomination. She might even win. If she keeps giving great speeches, the industry might actually say, you know what, we really want to give her this award. We really just, we want her to have it. This is a great time to award someone who's been in the industry for a very long time. She was never really known much for her acting talents, but she does have acting talents. This would be a great thing to do. But then, of course, well, actually, I'm going to share one more thing that was really cool. I love that the Golden Globes actually went and they gave Flow Best Animated Motion Picture. I mean, I thought they were going to go with The Wild Robot, which got 4 nominations. That would have been a great win, too. I'm not saying it wouldn't have. Like, if that had won, would have been perfectly fine with it. But they gave it to Flow, the indie film from another country with no dialogue. That takes chutzpah, and I'm actually now more cautiously optimistic that more people are going to see Flow as a result of this win, and it might actually go further in the awards than even I'd anticipated. And look, if The Wild Robot wins the Best Animated Feature Oscar, no complaints. It's a wonderful movie. But if Flow wins, oh, that's going to be especially great. I also want to say that with The Brutalist winning Best Picture and Director and Actor, I'm definitely more curious in that movie now. I hope it comes to my... Well, I guess it technically is in my area. If I want to drive an hour, I can go see it, but I know it's going to come closer. I know it's going to come closer, so I'm waiting for it to come closer. So that's my opinion on that one. But of course, the big blemish of the night is that Emilia Perez got the most award wins of the night, and I'm going to be writing an editorial on my iCritic blog. And in fact, I might even turn that editorial into a YouTube video as well, a video essay, if you will, because I think it's getting really, really tiresome that people are pretending that this is a good movie. Like, it won 4 awards. It won Best Original Song for Elma, and, because everyone's singing Elma everywhere. Ooh. It won Best Supporting Actress in a Movie, which I will say, Zoe Saldana, excellent in that movie. She might be the only good thing about that movie, but talk about category fraud. That is a lead performance. It's annoying me because she has a substantial advantage being in way more screen time than almost everyone else in that category, with the possible exception of Ariana Grande, who is also not a supporting actress in that movie. It wins for international film, which it's like, no, I probably would have given it to Flo, but I don't know if they nominated Flo. But whatever. They're also weird about their international awards. Actually, funny thing about the Golden Globes, if you were nominated for the international award, you also couldn't be nominated for one of the picture, drama, or comedy categories. I guess that's no longer a rule because Emilia Perez also won for Best Musical or Comedy. Now, in all fairness, it is a musical. It's not a very good movie, and the fact that it's sitting next to Wicked makes that all the more painfully obvious that this is not a good movie, or at least it's significantly worse than some of the other competition. And people are going like, oh, I guess Emilia Perez is going to win. Emilia Perez is going to go all the way. It has the path now. It's like, guys, this is new Golden Globes. We do not know if the new Golden Globes actually will align with anything Oscar does. They haven't the last couple years, not really. And I have a hard time believing that a movie this polarizing and really this disliked and controversial would do well on the preferential ballot. And for those of you who do not know what the preferential ballot is when it comes to movies, and the Producers Guild of America and the Academy Awards does this for Best Picture only, not other categories. With most of the categories, the voters are given the list of options. It's like, okay, here's the nominees, pick one that you like. And people pick and they vote. Well, when it comes to Best Picture, it's a preferential ballot. You don't just pick the movie that you like the best. You rank the movies that you like the most. So it's like, okay, this would be my number 1 pick. This would be my number 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way to 10. And obviously, if you pick a number one vote, you get a substantial amount of votes. Number one votes are more votes than number 10 votes. Now then, what they do is they go through a round and they count all the number one votes. And the movies that reach a certain number of number one votes go through the next round. And then they count all the number two votes. And then they count all the number three votes until they get to a winner. I have a very hard time believing that Emilia Perez is going to do well in this scenario, especially when it's this divisive. And I'm not just talking about the transgender storyline. I actually think that's probably the least controversial aspect of this movie with everyone. Although it's also, let's not kid ourselves, this is also the main reason it's doing as well as it is. Because, look, as much as I prefer representation, I want good representation. I would be very surprised, although if I am wrong and you are listening to this podcast in a place that leaves comments, please tell me if I'm wrong. But I have a hard time believing that what someone who is transgendered wants is to watch a movie where basically a drug dealer transitions into a woman and then uses the resources that she gained while she was a male to find the dead bodies that she helped put in the ground. I mean, is this the inspiring story for the transgender community that they want? I mean, people have been able to articulate why the transgender storyline in Moon Girl and the Dinosaur would have meant so much to them, or why it would have meant so much to them if in Pixar's In and Out, had they not cut the transgender story. Like, those storylines, the community has been very vocal about what it would have meant to them. I don't even think the transgender community is all that interested in Emilia Perez. I mean, I could be wrong. Again, there's a comment section on many of these platforms. Let me know. And in fact, if any of you want to send an email, I might even read the email in one of the podcasts, because it's like, if you could like really craft a well email about what Emilia Perez means to you as a transgender person and why it touches you, I would be more than happy to read that email, because I am generally curious if it has touched anyone. But I don't see this doing real on the preferential ballot. The controversies have more to do with the fact that the acting, except for Saldana, is not very good, because the director of the film is French, but the movie is primarily in Spanish and English, two languages he does not speak. What's more, it is a French production, and as a result, the way Mexico is portrayed is in such a stereotypical fashion, like stereotypes that honestly we should no longer be using anymore, for being honest, and the dialogue is clunky. Like, it's controversial because outsiders made a movie about a culture that they do not understand. And by the way, you don't have to be in that culture to make the movie. Coco is a great example. There have been Mexicans who are very surprised to find that that movie was directed by Lee Unkrich, who is white. And, you know, I remember watching this YouTuber, and he was talking about, oh my gosh, it was just like being at home. The aunt was just like my real aunt. I couldn't believe a white guy directed it. So, you know, if you put in the work, anyone can tell anyone's stories. But you have to be very, very sensitive about those stories, and you have to approach them with a little bit of caution, dare I say. And if you get it wildly wrong, like they do in this movie, you're going to hear about it. And I just don't understand, like, why. I think this is the Golden Globes trying to be edgy. I think all the awards, bodies are giving this movie a lot of nominations because it's like, look, it's bold, it's provocative, even though it's not really. It's stupid, trust me. But we're going to give it all these nominations. But then we expect it not to win. The Golden Globes has just put that in serious doubt. Are other voting bodies going to feel that this movie is worth awarding, even though this would be one of the worst Best Picture winners of all time? So, in terms of critical acclaim, this movie is actually only above 5 other Best Picture winners in terms of critical acclaim. Those movies being Crash, Tom Jones, Cimarron, The Broadway Melody, and I forgot what the fifth one was, but The Great Ziegfeld. That's what it was. It was The Great Ziegfeld. And these movies definitely have detractors as some of the worst movies to win Best Picture. And Emilia Perez is about to join that club if it wins. Like, this is what the Golden Globes just did for the Netflix movie. Now, funny enough, after it won, MoviePass, the company, tweeted out like, hey, Netflix, now that you've won this Golden Globe, can we put this in theaters where it deserves to be seen the way it was meant to be seen, like, you know, for everyone? And I had to quote tweet that and say, as one of the few people who saw this movie in theaters, I can guarantee you it's just as bad in theaters as it is at home. So that was like the big knock against the movie. Oh, by the way, Kieran Culkin won Best Supporting Actor. Like, he might actually sweep it this year. So that's kind of my main thing with the Golden Globes. It's like, it's still inconsequential, but you know, they still put on a good show, and the fact that they do unexpected things like this and gets people talking, even though it may or may not actually do anything, that's kind of what also makes the Globes a fun little monkey wrench in the awards season. And by the way, one of the great moments of the night was when Vin Diesel was giving out the award for basically box office cinematic achievement, and he was like a few feet away from Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, and basically he was like, oh, hi, Dwayne. Like, very awkward. And you can see that Dwayne Johnson is basically doing the best he can to keep his cool because he doesn't want to have a TV moment where he fights with Vin Diesel and everyone starts going like, Will Smith slapped who? And of course, the comedian did this thing where she was like mentioning who got thanked in acceptance speeches on a scorecard, and apparently God, creator of the universe, got no thanks whatsoever. Although, honestly, as a Christian, I think it's kind of nice when, you know, liberal, atheist, Hollywood elite people stop pretending that God really cared whether or not they won a Golden Globe for Best Supporting Actress in a comedy limited run series, or, you know what I'm saying. So anyway, those are my quick thoughts on the Golden Globes. I know that some people have done more substantial Golden Globe commentary, but it's like, look, if I'm not taking the show that seriously, I'm not going to take the results that seriously. But I did want to at least rag on Emilia Perez, because any chance I can to rag on that movie, as well as promote the wonderfulness that is Flow, I'm going to take. But in the meantime, what did all of you think about the Golden Globes? Did you think the right people won? Do you think this shapes anything? If you are listening to this podcast on a place where there are comments, do me a favor and leave the comment and like. And again, we have like new audience members. So if you like what you hear, then hey, hop onto Spotify, Apple, or Deezer, or any of your podcasting platforms of choice and subscribe to the podcast. And I will see all of you at the movies. Take care. Hey, you made it to the end. Thank you so much for making it to the end. Just a few more things. First of all, the names that you see on the screen, these are our Patreon and YouTube member supporters. And I thank each and every one of them. Their support helps me make exclusive videos for Patreon and YouTube members, as well as keep the channel running. And of course, is just of huge kindness to me. Also, don't forget to check out the iCritic-led podcast on Spotify, Apple, Google, Deezer, whatever podcasting service you listen to. It is there. We definitely want to see you there. And hey, there's also other videos that you can check out. So, you know, check out these other channels, these other videos, especially that one. I think that's a really good one.